So what I mean by hopium is the persistent, insistent delusion that if we don't change and if the church just doubles down on what they've been doing for decades, that millennials will re-engage and do a mea culpa and just come back to the church or not fall away, and everything's going to be fine. But what I'm trying to encourage churches to do is to totally rethink the way they communicate in their media at the parish level. And by media, I mean bulletins, websites, and social media. Now, most communication is nonverbal. So there are the words that people say, and then there's the body language and the tone and the inflection and all the other things that communicate what somebody means. And those are more important. Those are arguably more important because before language developed, that's how people understood and trusted each other. In pre-civilization, the way the whites in our eyes were evolved because that's how people could, other humans could see where our eyes were so they could trust us, because eye movement is definitely tied to trustworthiness. So that's a little rant. So being hooked on hopium means that we're going to hope that if we don't change and if we keep doing what we're doing, that millennials and Gen Z will stop falling away from the church and come back and recognize that the Catholic Church can and will address their spiritual needs if they just pay closer attention. And arguably, that is true. Unfortunately, it's not what we're communicating. So when you think about companies that do communicate well, who do you think about? You think about Apple, right? Everything about an Apple product tells you something when you get it. The packaging, the machining of the brushed aluminum casing of the device, the ease of use, their advertising, what they do little of, the price, premium pricing, all that is communication. And what I'm arguing is that churches at the parish level need to do more of that type of communication. And I'm not talking about investing, tens of thousands of dollars in design. What I'm talking about is taking design seriously and taking communication seriously. One company I like to talk about a lot is that hoped things would stay the same is a Blockbuster Video. They were attached to the idea that people wanted to continue coming to Blockbuster after work and browsing the aisles. They had this sort of romantic attachment to the past, and that they, even though Netflix was more convenient and cheaper, that people would just voluntarily pay the egregious late fees that Blockbuster Video would penalize people with. That was their whole business model, and they were wrong. And they got put out of business in a serious way. They were hooked on hopium. They hoped that the future would never come. And maybe they knew that the future would come, but they were wrong about the timing. It came, faster than they thought it would. And so when it comes to feeding people spiritually, the Catholic Church has an extremely valuable asset. We have people's attention. And so, we have maybe an email address, or, they are friends with us on Facebook, or they follow or they come to our website, once a week for whatever, to look at faith formation for their kids or to download forms or whatever. And we're missing opportunities to engage them when they're there, and what I'm trying to do with my company and my book and the whole deal is to convince you that we should be telling stories about real people and about their faith journey. And this is what will engage young people and show them that the Catholic faith is the path to, enlightened peace and serenity and meaning in their life. Because, what I found in working for a church for 5 years is that, people, Gen X and baby boomers and the greatest generation, these people have unbelievable stories of their faith journey that can and will inspire other people if we tell them. And that's what I think great communication does, is it tells a story that communicates a set of values that will inspire people to lean on their faith in Christ when times get tough. And as we all know, times are going to get tough. So when times do get tough for millennials or Gen Z, what do? They go to the charismatic, non-denominational churches. They go to philosophy or therapy, or they escape into other things. We're missing the opportunity to prove to them through a preponderance of evidence that the Catholic faith, if adhered to and if given one's life over to, can keep people safe from suffering. And, we're all going to suffer a little bit. And so the way you get and keep their attention to begin with is to show them that we do care. And so, when they see that, they encounter all these touch points in media with the church, whether it be, the website or the bulletin or social media, and, they're not necessarily inspired by the way it's communicating, we've missed that opportunity. And so, these efforts to revamp the design and communications, these aren't super, resource intensive or expensive efforts. This just takes a little bit of thought to do. And people also know that. So they know if, we're not doing it, we're not thinking that hard about how we communicate. And that's sad, because all of these other non-denominational churches, they are thinking about it, and they are putting a lot of effort and energy into, the user experience of their media. So what I'm encouraging, Catholic churches to do, and what I'm trying to teach Catholic churches, is that there are a lot of different ways that we communicate. And if we want to act like, it's this millennium and we care about young people and we care about the spiritual lives of young people, we have to at least engage their attention a little bit, and then once we do, we can, feed them our messages. But, we're squandering the attention that we've been given, and we're sort of, diminishing the brand in the mind's eye of the potential consumer. I hate to speak in business terms, but that is what it is. So, I would encourage you to really consider what it means to communicate. And, I think it is in storytelling and in showing people that faith journeys come in all shapes and forms and sizes, and that there is a place for young people in the church. And, let's prove it.